They hunted him for sport. A slow, wounded human, easy prey. But when he shut his eyes and slipped between 12 incoming arrows, the hunters realized something terrifying. The human wasn't slow. He was sensing them. The jungle was alive in the worst way, thick, humid air that clung to skin like wet cloth, insects whispering from the canopy, and the distant rumble of predators heavy enough to bend trees. Captain Saris pushed aside a hanging vine, her blue skin shimmering faintly under the dim light filtering through the leaves. She moved with the confidence of a born hunter, every step deliberate, her squad falling in behind her like trained shadows. Last human survivor in this sector, her lieutenant reported, tapping her scanner. Male, injured, slow. Honestly, Captain, it feels like an insult to chase something that can barely walk. The squad snickered under their breath. In their eyes, humans were fragile relics of a defeated species. Soft bodies, slow reflexes, unpredictable emotions. Hunting one wasn't a mission. It was cleanup. Saris didn't laugh. Not yet. Something bothered her. No traps? No weapons? She asked. None. He's alone and unarmed. A lazy target. The kind that should have pleased her. But an itch crawled at the back of her mind. Intuition she'd learned never to ignore. They found him minutes later, stepping through the undergrowth like a man with nowhere left to be. Barefoot, clothes torn, a faint limp in his left leg. He wasn't panicked or alert. He wasn't even trying to hide. He looked tired. Tired in a way only someone who had endured too much could be. One of her soldiers whispered, "What's wrong with him? Did he give up?" Saris stepped into the clearing. Her squad fanned out behind her in a perfect arc, weapons raised. The human lifted his head at their approach. No startle, no fear, just a calm awareness, as if they were neighbors greeting across a fence. "You couldn't dodge a single shot even if I gave you a head start," Saris called out, letting mockery coat her voice. "You're too slow." The human tilted his head, almost amused. "What if I close my eyes?" The squad burst into laughter. Loud, careless, confident. Saris smirked. Humans always said strange things before the end. "Fine," she said. 12 arrows. Same time. If you survive, maybe you're more than a leftover. The man stepped into the center of the clearing. No fighting stance. No tension. Just a slow exhale as he closed his eyes. Saris lowered her hand. 12 arrows fired. And the slow human moved like he'd already memorized the path of every single one. Not a scrape touched him. Not one. And suddenly, the jungle felt a lot less predictable. For a long moment, no one spoke. 12 arrows lay scattered across the clearing, quivering from the force of their impact with the earth and trees. Not one had touched the human standing calmly in the center. Saris felt her jaw tighten, not in anger, but in something far rarer, uncertainty. The squad around her shuffled nervously, glancing at each other as if silently asking, "What did we just witness?" "He guessed," one soldier muttered. "No one guesses 12 trajectories at once," another whispered back. The human opened his eyes, not triumphantly, not smugly, but with a quiet exhale, like someone finishing a long, familiar routine. He brushed dirt off his hand as if they had interrupted his walk, then gave Saris a small nod. "May I go now?" he asked gently. The question shouldn't have annoyed her, but it did. "Stop!" Saris stepped forward, signaling her squad to lower their bows. "How did you do that?" The man shrugged. "I listened." A harmless answer, an infuriating one. Saris replayed the moment in her mind, the shift of his weight, the subtle tilt of his head, the timing so precise it bordered on impossible. He wasn't fast. He wasn't agile. He simply moved as if he already knew. Her lieutenant leaned close. "Captain," his movements started before we released the arrows. I zoomed in on my feed. His shoulder twitched early. Saris blinked. "Before?" "Yes, as if he predicted us." Another soldier finished. A ripple passed through the squad, fear disguised as curiosity. Saris straightened, pushing emotion down where it belonged. "We're not done here." But when she looked back, the human had already turned away, casually stepping into the brush like she was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. "Hey!" she snapped. He paused but didn't turn. "Is this where you kill me for walking too slowly?" The line carried a hint of humor, dry, subtle, almost playful. It irritated her more than it should have. "Why aren't you running?" she demanded. "Running is for people who think it helps," he replied, finally looking back. "And you don't feel like someone who needs to chase." The remark hit her harder than she expected. Her squad watched her, confused by the shift in tone, unsure why their captain hadn't already ordered a stun volley. Saris inhaled slowly, fighting the strange weight in her chest. "Follow him," she ordered. "But keep your weapons down." No one laughed now. No one mocked him. For the first time, the squad felt something unfamiliar when looking at a human. Unease. Night settled over the jungle like a heavy blanket, thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming vines. Saris stood alone at the edge of camp, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the recordings flickering inside her visor. Frame by frame, she watched the human again. Each time, the same impossible detail returned. He moved before her soldiers fired. Not reflex, not instinct, prediction. "Captain?" her lieutenant asked softly. "You've been reviewing that clip for 2 hours." Saris dismissed her with a wave. She didn't have answers yet, and she hated that. By the time the moon crested over the treetops, Saris had made a decision that surprised even her. She left the camp quietly, without explanation, following the faint trail the human had taken earlier. Something in her chest, curiosity, or maybe something less controllable, dragged her forward. The jungle at night was a different creature. Leaves whispered with secrets, shadows stretched unnaturally long, and every step felt like trespassing into an older, more patient world. Saris walked carefully, relying on instinct more than scanners. That instinct froze when a voice drifted out of the darkness. "You're stepping louder than before." Her hand flew to her weapon, but she forced herself not to draw it. "Show yourself." "No," he replied. "You're already on edge. Seeing me won't help." His tone wasn't mocking. It was gentle, almost amused. Saris scanned the trees. Nothing. No heat signature. No movement. Just the steady rhythm of insects and her own breath. "How are you hiding from our sensors?" "I'm not hiding." His voice shifted locations, as if the jungle itself carried it. "You're just listening to the wrong things." Saris exhaled sharply. "You dodged 12 arrows with your eyes closed. No human should do that." Silence followed, long enough that she wondered if he had left. Then, "I haven't seen anything in months," he said quietly. "Not the arrows. Not you. Not the path I walk." Saris felt her heartbeat catch. Blind? That made everything impossible, and yet made terrifying sense. "You expect me to believe you're blind?" "I don't expect anything," he replied. "But you came here alone. That means you're searching for something." Saris swallowed, realizing suddenly that he was right. "Why did you walk away earlier?" "Because you weren't ready to listen," he said softly. "But you are tonight." A breeze moved between them, carrying the faint scent of crushed leaves and rain. For the first time, Saris felt not like a hunter, but like someone standing at the edge of an answer she wasn't sure she wanted. A distant rumble rolled through the jungle, soft at first, then growing into a vibration Saris felt beneath her boots. She didn't flinch, but the human spoke before she could ask. "Your squad is moving," he murmured. 300 meters east. They're searching for you." Saris frowned. "Your hearing isn't that good." "It's not just hearing," he said, tilting his head slightly. "Everything has a rhythm. Footsteps, breath, fear. Your soldiers carry all three." His calm certainty sent a ripple of unease through her. She was used to reading data, not whatever he was reading. She almost asked more, but his head snapped up suddenly. "Move." "Why?" He pushed her aside just as the ground beneath her gave a violent crack. The old suspension bridge beside them shuddered, metal screaming under its own weight. Before she could react, half the structure tore free and dropped into the ravine. Saris lunged, grabbing onto the last intact railing. Her feet dangled over a black abyss where the river roared far below. Sweat slicked her palms as metal creaked under her grip. "Captain!" Her squad's voice crackled faintly in her calm, but then cut out. Static. Nothing. The fall must have damaged her systems. She tried climbing up, but the railing shivered, threatening to snap. Her arms trembled. She wasn't afraid of death. She hated being powerless. A warm hand closed around her wrist. Saris looked down. The human stood on a narrow ledge, one she hadn't noticed. How he reached it so quickly, she still didn't know. His eyes were closed, but his grip was strong and steady. "Let go," he said. "Are you insane?" She snapped back. "You won't fall." His voice held no arrogance, no mockery, just certainty. "Trust me." She hesitated, a soldier calculating her odds. There were none, so she forced her fingers open. He lowered her onto the ledge with a precision that made her breath catch. For a moment, they stood shoulder to shoulder, both breathing hard. "You knew this would happen," she said, more accusation than question. "I knew the bridge was groaning differently," he corrected softly. "Metal cries before it breaks. Most people don't listen." Saris stared at him, not with fear, but with something far more dangerous for a soldier. Respect. "Why save me?" she asked quietly. He shrugged. "You hesitated to shoot me. That counts for something." A simple answer, but it shifted something deep inside her, something neither of them fully understood yet. By dawn, the storm clouds had gathered thick above the treeline. The jungle felt heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. Saris and the human moved through the undergrowth in silence, each step echoing the weight of the night before. She wasn't sure when it happened, but following him no longer felt like a mistake. "Your squad," he said suddenly. "They're close." Saris froze. "They shouldn't be this far west." "They were ordered," he replied gently. "And they're not coming to rescue you." Before she could ask what he meant, the ground ahead lit up with a structured grid of red beams. A tactical formation. Her people. A familiar voice carried across the clearing, sharp, authoritative, unmistakable. "Captain Saris," Commander Varric called out, stepping forward in full armor. "You're ordered to stand down." Saris's spine stiffened. "Commander, I was conducting recon. Without authorization. Without your squad. And in the company of an enemy anomaly." His gaze flicked to the human, then back to her. "Your neural link went dark last night. The council declared you compromised." A cold tremor passed through her. They hadn't lost her signal by accident. They had shut her out. Varric raised a hand. 12 rifles clicked into position. "Step aside. The human is to be taken alive." Alive didn't mean safe. Saris knew what research custody meant better than most. Beside her, the human whispered, "If they take me, it won't stop with me." Saris didn't need him to explain. She understood. They would cut him open, study whatever he had become, replicate it, weaponize it. And she would have helped them deliver him. The thought made her stomach twist. "Saris," Varric barked, "this is your last chance to prove loyalty." She stepped forward slowly, but instead of moving aside, she removed her helmet and let it fall to the ground. "I'm done proving myself to men who fear what they don't understand," she said calmly. A ripple of shock moved through the formation. "Very well," Varric said. "Execute both." The rifles lifted, and the world went silent. Not quiet, silent. The human stood perfectly still, eyes closed, face serene. A wave pulsed from him, soft, invisible, but immense. Soldiers staggered. Weapons dropped. Varric clutched his head, unable to hear even his own voice. "Time to go," the human murmured, touching Saris's arm. They slipped past the collapsing formation into the trees, breathless, alive, changed. When they finally crossed into the neutral lands, Saris looked back only once. Not with fear, not with regret, but with clarity. Where now? she asked. Forward, he said gently, where slow people like us learn to see differently. For the first time, she smiled, and together, they walked into a future no one else could predict. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like, subscribe, and step into the next story with us. Because in this universe, humans aren't just survivors. They're the ones who change destiny. See you in the next adventure.